AzMusic.org. I'm Vanessa Joy. We're sitting here with American Standards. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for coming out to Tempe. I'm going to jump right into it. Brandon, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Name's Brandon Kellum. I do vocals for American Standards.
I'm Stephen Mandel. I'm currently the bass player in American Standards.
And I'm Mitch Hosier. I play drums for American Standards.
Right on. I'm going to be coming to you, Mitch. I've got a lot to talk to you about after watching the videos with you guys, but I want to know, Brandon, you're the mouthpiece. You're the guy that I've been in contact with. Who is the heart and soul of this band?
It's obviously me. If there was no me, there'd be no band.
It's kind of a dumb question. Dumb answer.
It's probably Steve.
Question,
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
No, it's actually Corey. Corey's not here, by the way. We didn't say so. Corey, our guitarist, is the guy that couldn't make it. He's really the heart of the band. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Corey,
Well,
American Standards.
How did...
Corey and I were both the original members.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was getting to there. When I hear the name American Standards, it's almost like you would it leads one to believe that you might be listening to some Sinatra or something in a minute, but you guys are really hardcore. Tell me a little bit about the inception and the direction of your sound and how it's evolved since you've been a band.
Well, if you're not hardcore, or you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore, right?
It's true.
Yeah. No, I think for the name, it's funny because we always kind of get the tie back to either American Standards, it's classical music, or Frank Sinatra, or things like that, or we get the political. People think we're a political band pretty often, or the style of guitars. So there's Fender American Standard, but it's really all just a toilet. I mean, we pretty much named ourselves after a toilet. So next time you're in the restroom, look down. Your toilet's probably called American Standard. We had to add S to it for legal reasons, so we can copyright it.
And now that you say that, I'm seeing every toilet with American Standards. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere.
And after this, every time you look down, you're gonna remember us. The idea is the band's got maybe a few more years in it. I don't know, but those toilets have been around for hundreds of years. So you're gonna be 70 or 80 years old and be like, I kind of remember these jackasses.
But tell me more about your sound and how it's evolved since you've been a band.
You want to take this, Steve?
I can try. I can see what I can come up with here. I've only been in the band for about 2 years now. I've known the guys for years. I used to be in a different band. We used to play shows together all the time. So I think when they first started, it really had the raw, punk rock feel to it, really thrashy, really all over the place, and kind of just doing something that has kind of been around, but not the same, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does or not. But over the years, things have progressed with different members and different influences from everyone, whether it be, more punk rock or more metal or more hardcore and everything in that aspect. So it's really kind of just expanded to what we are now, where, Corey and I really clicked one way, and then Mitch has been around jamming and doing his thing too, so it's kind of really made it like a whole new aspect of what we're doing. So it's kind of I don't know, it's gotten a little more polished.
Yeah, you guys are definitely a conglomerate of a lot of different sounds, and it works for you.
Yeah, I think the cool thing that we get, one of the cool compliments we get pretty often is, we remind people of, late 90s or early 2000s music, as opposed to, the music that's out now. Which, for me, that's always, I don't know if they say that as a compliment, but I take it as a compliment, because, when I think of, heavier bands in our genre now, I think of, sugary drums and kind of, the fake instruments and really, really polished sound on the vocals. And I think we, although we put some time into what we want the recording to sound like, I think the last thing we want to do is have anything on the recording that we can't really play live.
Yeah.
So to Steve's point, I think we've got that rawness, but at the same time, I think we always try to push ourselves in each direction. So every time we're writing, we're trying to say, not how can we go heavier and heavier, it's how can we go in every direction more, write something faster than we've ever written, more experimental than we've ever written, or even slower or more melodic.
Well, who's the main songwriter?
I think it's a mix. When we first started, so we started off with a very different lineup than we have right now, anyways. And I think when we started off, we had one or two guys that would kind of come with 80% of the song written, and then we would go from there. and that works really well for writing a quick song to get through, just writing more and more material for a CD. But now I think it takes us longer to write a song because we kind of go into, we have a practice space, we go into the practice space with completely fresh ears where we don't come in with 80% of the song written. We have one or two riffs, and then we all have input as the song's developed. So at the end, rather than it being the sound of like one person's idea, it's kind of the sound of what we all are into.
Well, and that brings me to you, Mitch, because I watched a couple of your videos, listened to some of your songs, and really, I think you're the punk heart of the outfit. When I see you play drums, that speed that you possess. How long you been playing?
I've been playing for about 15 years now. So
It shows.
Yeah, I started really young, and then I was really into like nu metal and stuff like that when I was growing up, just listening to it with my dad and stuff. But I was also super into like, he had an Offspring album, and so I got really into like punk music, that like kind of fast pop kind of stuff at a young age, and so I just played a ton of that all the time. And so now like I always joke when I'm talking to people, I feel like every time I join a band, the band like starts writing faster songs, and I think it's totally unintentional because I'm like,
I can see that now that you say it. I think one thing we mentioned right away when we saw Mitch, we're like, how's it like playing for American Standards where you're just, like, cause a lot of the stuff Mitch plays is just really fast, hardcore punk, and with American Standards, our older stuff, it has that, but it's not all that. But I think as we write new stuff, I think it starts to meld into that kind of melting pot.
Oh, definitely. And as a listener, you can definitely hear that synergy that's going on with you guys right now, which I think is propelling you so far up. Because Brandon, when I hear your voice, you are a hardcore screamer to the point where it's a professional job to keep that voice intact. How do you do it?
I'm trying to my best to sing with my Mariah Carey pipes. I don't know what you're talking about screaming. I didn't think I screamed at all. No, I don't. It is. I think it was easier when I was younger, because I've been doing it now for about 15 years, surprisingly. So I started when I was like 15, and now I'm 30, and I think it was much easier to go on longer tours without losing my voice. And back then, I didn't have to be as cognizant of that. Now I think when we play a lot of shows in a row, I definitely have to condition it, do exercises to make sure I'm able to maintain it and keep it where I want to. Because one big difference from doing this type of vocals as opposed to singing or even screaming in different styles of metal or hardcore is it's not a constrained like yell or a constrained voice or vocal. It's very much like how you get the sound out of it is really pushing it as hard as you can. And it just shreds your
well, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of people out there trying to do what you do, and you do it very well. You're welcome. You guys recently opened up for Atreyu, big time. That was a big thing.
It was pretty cool for us. It was actually.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think when we first got the offer. The first thing I thought is I didn't know Atreyu were still playing shows, and apparently they had taken a break for a few years. So it's their first tour back, and it was a $35-$40 show on a weekday, and we're wondering who's really going to be here. But it ended up being a huge show. I mean, there's about 600 people there, so on a weeknight, in Tucson, Arizona, and people were super excited. From the moment we got there, which check-in was 4 or 5 hours early, there was a line around the
What was the venue?
Club Excess in Tucson. Yeah, and they're awesome to see. They played a lot of their old stuff, a lot of the newer stuff. They played their Bon Jovi cover.
Yeah.
Well, and with the Atreyu and the videos that I've seen, it's really high quality. Tell me a little bit about the team that's behind American Standards.
For the most part, it kind of spawns off of just being like an independent group of guys that we all play the same music, we all like each other as a band, and then we kind of take our chances, and we have lots of friends that do videos and things like that, and some photographers and things like that as well that really help us out in that aspect too.
So you don't have the Svengali following you around and telling you where to be and.
No, we tried the label back when we first started off. So with the Still Life EP, we worked through this label called We Are Triumphant out of Boston, and a subsidiary of Victory Records, so that helped us with the distribution and stuff. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it really helped us more in the sense of having our name attached to a larger label, but the actual work behind it was all us. When it came to booking tours, recording, all the money and time that goes into all that, and it was really all just kind of us. And to Steve's point, networking with people that we know.
You're really lucky in that aspect, I feel like.
Yeah,
like
I think
we have one of our best friends who helped us record Hungry Hands is like an amazing producer, recorder dude. He's been in a band with Brandon back in the day. And, we have friends that have been in other groups that are, like I was saying, like photographers or friends that make music videos and things like that. We're just kind of lucky in the aspect of being in the music scene, meeting these people. That's how I met them, at least. I know you guys move differently and stuff like that, different ways, but it's just really kind of doing it yourself and really getting the opportunity to. What am I thinking of here? I'm drawing a blank.
What he's aiming towards, I think, is like you get to build a network over time, and you get to work with the people that you want to work with, and then you're not working on someone else's schedule.
Definitely.
So the difference between when we first started off and we were on the label is although we were doing the work, we were working on their schedule to meet their deadlines, and now it's very much
DIY.
Yeah, when we're ready to release, we're ready to release. When we want to do video or pictures, we get to work with who we want to work with and do it at the time we want to do it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to keep creative control.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you guys, you're one of the few bands in the Valley that I don't see around in the Tempe scene as much. Is there a reason for that?
For us, we try to play really in different areas all the time, but I think for Tempe specifically, I'm trying to think of like specific venues that we might have been asked to play. That I know, we've played places like Yucatan, for example, but we more than often will get asked to play places like the Nile or the Underground or Joe's Grotto. So we're not opposed to really playing anywhere. It's just kind of who asks us and what show it is. I think we try to be really strategic about playing shows that we want to see ourselves. Because I think that's what kind of kills bands is when they just say, okay, we're going to go all at it and play every single show we get offered. And ultimately, they burn themselves out really quick. So when we started, we would take any offer. Now we play with bands that we want to play with, that we want to see. Like the last thing we want to do is play a show that has 10 bands, and we personally have only heard of one or two of those bands. And we know that people that come to the show that enjoy us would only want to stick around for one or two bands. Like we only want to play shows that we know people want to come see.
That's a good way to be.
That offer us the shows, we're there,
Well, and a lot of artists, they have gripes with the amount of compensation from venue owners and club owners. You guys strike me as the kind of band that's not going to play for a bar tab. You know what I mean?
I enjoy bar tab myself. No, we definitely have. I think
rack up bar tabs.
Yeah, we rack up bar tabs. We hope the venue covers it. No, I think it's one of those things where we're never playing for the amount of money that we make. We do decent when we're on tour. We do much more, or I guess we do better when we're on tour than we do when we're home. Because when we're home, we generally play shows that are for like national bands. Like we've recently done like the Artreyu and Every Time I Die and Straight from the Path and Comeback Kid and Emery and those type of shows where we'll play those shows and only make a little bit of money just because we want to go to those shows ourselves. So it's very rarely that someone says like, will you play this show? And we're like, oh, you're only going to pay us this. I don't think we've ever actually said that. The only time that we've ever pushed back is if we're on the road and we're like, we need this amount of money to physically make it to this next stop, or we're not going to be able to make it there.
Well, you guys seem to be more popular nationally than just AZ. Do you feel like you're outgrowing the Valley?
I don't know that we outgrow it. I don't want to steal all the questions here. I don't know that we outgrow it, but I think it's one of those things that when you look at any band in Arizona that's really kind of made it outside of Arizona, they come to a point where they start off playing Arizona a lot, and they start to realize that if we keep playing the same venues with the same bands, it's going to be the same people watching us. So going back to be strategic, they decide, okay, we're going to only play in Arizona every few months, and then they start playing out of town, and the people out of town appreciate them because they only get to see them every few months, and then when they play in town, people appreciate it. I think that's a mistake that a lot of bands locally will make, is they'll play every week, and then their fans and their friends start saying, well, I can't catch this one, but I'll just catch you next week. Whereas if it's actually an event, it's like, well, these guys are only playing 2 or 3 times this year in Arizona, I'm going to go out and see those shows. So it's for the national shows, that's what we try to do. We just try to play in places that people haven't seen us before. And then after we play those places, we try to hit those places, a couple times a year so they remember about us,
What are some of your favorite venues out here in the Valley to play at?
Yeah, I love the underground personally. You guys have played
And they
there.
serve
Yeah.
liquor now. Woo!
Yeah, that's true.
It's hot and sweaty in there.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, but I don't know.
That's
there's
why.
something
That's
about
why I
it.
love it. Yeah,
Like when you
funny
leave the
I say that
underground,
either.
you feel like you leave with a piece of everybody else that's
Yeah,
ever been in
exactly.
the underground.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're literally breathing in like everything that they've sweated out.
Yeah.
And as far as like smaller venues and stuff go, I really like Tempe Tavern. I played probably last year.
Shout out to Tempe
Yeah,
Tavern.
that place, yeah, that place is
Yeah.
awesome. Tempe Tavern, Yucca's always been really cool. As far as like smaller places, I don't know. that's
Those
probably-
are all the usual suspects,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's kinda-
Yeah,
Joe's
that's
Grotto's
those
always
are the
been really
good.
to us.
51
Yeah,
West.
yeah, definitely Joe's Grotto.
51 West.
Yeah, and especially lately, Joe's Grotto's been getting a lot of really good shows. 51 West, they're owned by Mantooth.
Mhm.
I think that's a cool place because people haven't had a chance to ruin it yet. It's like doesn't smell like it doesn't smell like farts quite yet.
Right.
Give it 6 months and it'll be there. But
I think they can cover it up with the coffee smell though.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they have coffee there. So people
True.
just think it's just like a really nice espresso or something.
yeah, one time like someone dumped like a dead cat in my garbage can, and I found out that the only way you can cover up that smell ever was coffee grounds.
There you go, yeah.
There it is. That's
Maybe
that's why
the
it doesn't
Niles
smell
caught
like
onto, or
farts.
the 51 West caught onto
Finally,
them.
right?
But
You had mentioned the label We Are Triumph. Is that?
we are trying to do that.
And I wanted to ask you, with the whole getting signed thing and labels, with the marketable look that all of you have, and
Yeah.
and also the quality of what you're doing, there has to be interest. So who's shown interest?
I think, we've got a lot of DIY labels that have talked to us. Right now, we're actually, all the labels that we work with Enjoyment Records out of the UK. They press all our vinyl. Nacion Libre out of Mexico, and they do all our distribution in Mexico, obviously. And then here in the States, we have Torn Flesh, which helps us with all our net distribution. So that's really cool in the sense that we get to work with these labels where we don't have to push on the charges to people out of country. So for example, if we were to sell like a CD or something to someone in the UK, it costs us a couple bucks to make the CD, and then it costs us $8 to ship it to the UK. So by the time they buy it, they're spending 20 bucks on a CD that costs us a couple dollars. So working with those DIY labels like helps us keep the cost low because they make them where they're from locally. I feel like we're going to continue to do that even as we get offers until we get something that we just can't turn down. I think when we had the Enjoyment Records and Victory Records kind of deal came through, we thought it was too good to be true, and like we couldn't turn it down. And for us, it was almost a year plus of like a standstill because we found out rather than being on a DIY label where their primary focus, we ended up being like the small band on a huge label full of 30 or 40 other bands, so they had no time for artist development. Whereas when you're the big
Which
band
is very
on a small
important.
label,
Which is very important.
exactly, without artist development, you don't have anything. So when you're on the DIY labels, people are like, these are guys working out of their garage, and they're just hungry to press these albums and to sell stuff because that's how they make their money. And that's what's good for us right now. I think until something bigger comes along.
Well, another thing, you're all over. American Standards is all over social media and all over everything from iTunes and Spotify. I mean, you can't turn around without finding your music. Are you?
And now
Of
on
course,
the
you're
toilet.
liking that now on the toilet.
They license their toilets.
Don't forget
and
the
they're in every
toilet.
household.
But are you enjoying that? Like the return from being out there on social media and.
Tell them your cop story.
Oh, my cop story. So we were getting ready to play Tucson, not the last show, so it was the one with Coma Cordell.
Yeah.
And I was running late to practice like I always do. And I'm driving down the 17 and I'm going a little faster than I should. And I get pulled over and I was like, all right, I deserve this ticket, here it comes, Cop walks up to me and he goes, why are you running so fast? I'm running late to practice. And he goes, well, you're in a band. What's your band called? I said, American Standards. And he goes, oh, I saw you guys play with Every Time I Die in Flagstaff. He's like, just don't speed anymore, just go ahead. He let me go.
Nice.
So I didn't get his name. I want to give him a shout out.
The perks of being a rock star,
Yeah,
folks.
right.
You heard it
First
here.
one, First one.
All right.
Yeah, it's really the perks of being a rock star, and obviously you're enjoying some of the spoils of that.
Just the first spoil I got. Yeah.
So when you guys toured, tell me what that experience is like. What is that experience like for you? Are you guys luxury the whole way, or is it,
Totally, yeah.
are you schlepping across the U.S.?
Both. I don't know that we ever had luxury, but
I mean, Paris, and Vegas was pretty.
We spent
pretty
$39
fancy.
for a hotel one
$39,
time.
yeah.
I've stayed there too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, I think like we have. I don't want to say we pampered ourselves, but we've done tours in which were much different than in prior bands that I've done. In prior bands, it's always been like you sleep in the van and you don't take a shower for the tour. Whereas we did a tour where we slept in a hotel just about every night, and we still came home with money, which is very rare for a band of our style that's not doing a label, you know. But then also on the last tour, we toured with our really good friends in Stay Wild from California, and they built bunk beds in their van. And honestly, that was better than any tour I've ever.
Yeah.
Because it was the difference. I think the big difference is when you do get hotels and everything else. It's kind of a bummer because you play the show, you party, you stay the night in the place you're in. Next morning you wake up early and you drive all day, and by the time you get to the next venue, it's time to do sound check and play the show, and that's just pretty much the routine. Whereas with this tour with Stay Wild, it's so different because we actually we would play the show. We would after the show we would party as much as we wanted, get in the van, fall asleep, the bunk beds and everything, wake up the next morning, be in the next city, and have an entire day to waste in the next city.
It was Corey Skowronski was a madman and drove throughout the night.
So
almost every night.
Yeah, with driving throughout the night, we got to actually see, like when we went to Seattle, we went to like Space Needle.
Yeah,
we went to what was that, Pike's Place. And we went to we went to Burnside, the skate park. We went to a bunch of cool like sites to see because we had the time to do it. But like we weren't living in luxury by any means. We were sleeping in the back of a van on like bunk beds made out of plywood.
And when that happens, is it worth it for you?
Oh yeah, it's better because
100%.
I think that's the best thing about touring is you get to actually like everybody says like, oh cool, you're like in this rock band, and like when people at work, for example, will be like, you're doing all this great stuff, but really it's like the majority of being in a band is not playing music. Like the majority is like sitting in a band with 4 other dudes or 5 other dudes for like 5 hours at a time, and if you don't like each other, then like
it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, because like when you play music, you play for 45 minutes a night, so like playing music is the very smallest part. Like everything else is like promoting and practicing and driving.
Well, another thing with a lot of AZ bands, not since really Authority Zero, I mean, I'll take it back to Gin Blossoms, maybe. We had some bands that that made it nationally.
Yep.
Why do you think that in this modern time, it's so few and far between for AZ bands?
What do you think, Steve? Mitch? I don't know. I think, while you guys are thinking of your answers, I do. I think, Arizona's had probably, to me, I think has had more bands than most states that come out. Because like you said, you got Gin Blossoms, you got like Jimmy Eat World, you got the Bled, Jobber Cowboy, Eyes of Kill, Bless the Fall, the Somerset, tons of bands.
Shell Branch.
Andrew Jackson Jihad is killing it. It's like you've got a lot of bands that do really well at the mid level, I think. Jimmy World, Gin Blossoms, Michelle Branch.
Jimmy World.
Gin Blossoms, Michelle Branch. So I know we've got a ton of bands that come out of Arizona, but it's a different time, and I think right now bands are just trying to figure out like how can I be a band and not a solo artist and actually make it a career, Because like for the people that are making it a career, they're typically solo artists or somebody that has marketability, and it's a little bit harder to break. It's easier to get your music out to people now because you throw it up on Bandcamp or anywhere else in 2 seconds. You could record in your house and then the same day post it online and then put it out to the entire world, and you couldn't do that before. But everybody can do that, and because everybody can do that, like as a consumer, someone that's listening to music, you're like, there's so much content. What do I even?
It's more like a saturation issue. There's like back when Jimmy World was getting big or 30 Zero. It wasn't quite the same. Like now, like he said, you can go in your room and you can record every single instrument by yourself, you know, with a
Yeah.
little 2-channel interface, and you can release an album online on Bandcamp and sell it.
And
You
you
know?
can go everywhere. You can go.
And you can,
Europe,
you can send it wherever you want. Anyone can download it. So I think now that there's so many projects, just everybody's always hearing about a new band. I feel like it's harder for, you know, a lot of the bands.
It's a really good point. Definitely.
And it also creates more niches. Like
Exactly.
before, it was like I listen to metal, I listen to punk rock, I listen to, you know, whatever rap or R&B or pop or whatever it is. But now it's like I listen to Viking death metal from Norway. And only between years 1985 and 1988, and you can find tons of bands that do that.
I only like Italian pig fucking metal.
And the weird thing is, like, now you can totally geek out over what your very specific niche is, whereas before it was like there's these broad categories, and like you kind of go for the whole category because there's no way to drill down to what you want unless you're going to, you know, the warehouse or wherever else, you know, FYE to buy CDs. Like now it's like
Shout out to the warehouse, everyone. Go find your local warehouse.
American Standard is actually in warehouse. But it's like
The
before,
Sam Goody.
I remember going to the warehouse and being like, all right, for fan, like look at sticker, like for fans of this, and then you would go off of that, like that's how, and you would have to invest $13 into it, so you would force yourself to like a shitty album because you spent $13 on it.
Yeah.
Now it's like I can download thousands of albums in an entire day on my iPod or my computer and not even listen to any of them if I don't want to because they're all free. You know?
Well, tell us what's next for you guys. What's coming up for you guys?
Well, we're in the middle of writing. We're working on some new tunes. Corey and I had a few riffs. I know Brandon's been working with some songs and stuff like that too. And
Just vocally, I just yell in
just
my
yells
room
in his room.
by myself.
He sends us these songs, and first we don't realize they're songs. First we just hear yelling.
Yeah.
We're like, "Are you okay, dude?" And then we kind of realize he's like repeating lines. Like, "Okay, so this is a new song."
Yeah, so that's good.
But yeah, since Mitch has been with us, and like we said, we have this practice studio now, which before was just like whoever's house was available before 3 o'clock. We're really buckling down, and we're really getting the chance to really take these new riffs, like we were saying earlier too, where we kind of bounce off each other ideas and stuff, and we're writing full length. Hopefully, we're still working on full length now, and trying to play more shows. We have a few shows coming up too.
Here in the Valley?
Our next show's in Prescott, actually.
Okay.
That's at.
Wine capital of the world, Prescott.
It's a good one. It's the where's that venue?
Gurley Street Coffee, which is on Whiskey Row.
Whiskey Row.
Yeah.
And it's with actually one of my favorite bands from Arizona right now, which is their name's Prize Fight. And they're a relatively newer band. They're a punk band and kind of have the sound of like Refused and Snapcase and like that style of punk hardcore.
It's like if you took Jimmy Eat World
And Michelle
and
Branch.
Michelle Branch.
Yeah, they're definitely on AzMusic.org's radar.
Yeah.
I've heard of them.
They're really good. They're actually playing tonight in I think Tempe Tavern.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're playing a free
Nice.
show out there. So they're doing that. So by the time you watch this, you're gonna be too late.
Shouldn't have said it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for being here. You know, we're excited to see what's next for you.
Yep.
AzMusic.org, I'm Vanessa Joy, and these are the American Standards.
We did it, Mom.
Made it.